Morning, it's Tuesday, May 31st. I hope all of you had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Gertrude and I had a very interesting experience on Sunday. We had decided we were going to take a drive out east, going to a seafood restaurant out in West Hampton that we used to go to quite often when we had our condo out there. But as we were leaving the house, Gertrude suggested that we go to Port Jefferson instead because she didn't feel like taking that long ride out to West Hampton. And it turned out to be a wonderful experience. So we drove over to Port Jefferson on 25A, and that's a beautiful route if most of you know it. And we came into the beginning of Port Jefferson, and I was driving around to find a restaurant. We drove up near the ferry terminal, and across the street it was Danford's Hotel and everything. And right on the corner of Main Street in Port Jefferson is a restaurant called the Steam Room. And it's a wonderful restaurant because they open up the sides of the walls and everything. There are like patio doors, and you get the nice breeze from the bay. And you see all of the people wandering around in the squares. It's very busy that day in Port Jefferson. And then I remember hearing something on the radio a couple of days ago about restaurant workers and how at one point before the pandemic, restaurant workers were going to outnumber those in this country with manufacturing jobs. Restaurant workers apparently were at that point one of the largest workforces in the country. But then the pandemic struck and the restaurants closed up. And these workers weren't willing to go to work for those wages, or couldn't go to work, or whatever it was, the employees in the restaurant work area fell by the wayside. But it's very interesting at the Steam House, which will give you any kind of fish you want, lobsters and clams and scallops and all kinds of other seafood. Much of it is not kosher, so that could be a drawback for some people out there. But in any event, they had a unique system for waiting on the customers, which eliminated the need for a huge wait force, right? When you came in, there was a beautiful menu lying on the table. Everything clearly written with pictures of all the delicious foods that they were prepared. And the pricing was fairly reasonable in this day and age. So we sat down at the table, and nobody came over to help us. And then finally a young man who seemed to be the only waiter in the room, and this place was packed. This is not a very big restaurant, but they do have a ground floor and a deck. You could go up on the deck and overlook harbor. But we were sitting downstairs. A young man came over and he said, take a look at the menu and then go up to the cashier and order. And after you order, the food will be delivered to your table. So that's what we did. We looked at this beautiful menu. We selected 2 nice dishes. I went up to the cashier and I ordered the dishes and I paid for them, and she gave me this electronic device, a circular disc with a little green light on it, right? And it was flashing, and she said, take this back to the table, and there's a slot set up on the table, put it in the slot, and when this thing goes off, your food will be delivered. And that's what happened. We were sitting at the table watching the scenery and watching the people walking by with their children and their dogs and everything, and the breeze was blowing and it was beautiful. And they had an electronic device up on the wall that kept producing 3D images of a wide variety of cartoon figures, of animals and everything. So they had something, form of entertainment while you were waiting for your food to be delivered. And then after 10 or 12 minutes, the device on my table started to blink red, and the waiter went over, picked up my food, delivered it to the table, gave us all the utensils that we needed, spread out everything nicely on the table for us, and said, enjoy your meal. And we did. We ate the meal. It was beautiful. So these people in this restaurant, and they were still looking for help, have solved part of the problem of employment by using this electronic device. And so that nobody had to wait out the table, nobody had to take our order. The only thing that the waiters were doing there is deliver it to the table, and then when we were finished and ready to leave, he came over, I gave him a tip, and then they cleaned the table off and they start the cycle over again. And when I thought about hearing this thing about restaurant workers falling by the wayside, and these people have taken a position to avoid the problem of having to find waiters and waitresses. And they have much more people cooking in the kitchen from what I could see. And they were doing a land office business. So while the workforce is not coming back in the restaurant industry, many entrepreneurial people are figuring out how to cope with the shortage of work staff. And it was a beautiful day. And it was a terrific experience. So I tell you that if this catches on, if this methodology catches on, waiters and waitresses are a dying breed, because you don't need to have anybody standing over your table waiting for you to give an order, wandering around waiting for somebody to give an order with their pad and pencil. In this place, you look at the menu, you decide, you walk up to the cashier, you pay, you sit down, they give you a device, and it gets delivered to your table. It was a very pleasant experience. So if you get a chance, if you like seafood, if you can eat the type of seafood that they're serving there, go to the Steam Room in Port Jefferson. It's right on the corner of 25A and Main Street. You can't miss it. And this time of year, it's beautiful in Port Jefferson. So I'll leave you with that this morning, and have a great day. Bye.